All right, so for this first one, the first thing that we need to do is find the side that we're missing. Can't talk. And that's going to be Pythagorean theorem. So you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it A. You can call it X, whatever variable you feel like. A squared plus 4 squared equals 6 squared. And then we're going to just work that out. I am kind of moving through these steps kind of quickly because that's just, simple arithmetic there. Your last step is to square root, and you do need to split that. So what is 20 gonna split into? Yep, good. 4 and 5. That's the unit we actually just finished in Algebra 1. And so that's gonna reduce to 2 square root of 5. So you get like probably 2 points for that. Then you're gonna go list out your sine, cosine, and tangent. Do you see how your theta, this little Easter egg looking thing, is right here? This is your point of view. This is like you are here. So that means 4 is the opposite. And then your 2 square root of 5 is what? That's adjacent. And 6 is hypotenuse. Okay. So then how do you get sine? Sine is what over what? You will have to have it memorized by next time. Yeah, good. So 4 over 6, and that reduces to 2/3. You do have to reduce and rationalize, which rationalize means you can't have a root in the denominator. All right, cosine would be what over what? Yeah, good. So that would be 2 square root of 5 over 6. Now you can't touch the 5, that's inside of the root. But ignoring that, how does 2/6 reduce? Yeah, 1/3. And you can keep the 1 in there in front of the square root of 5 if you want to. That's like personal preference. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that's going to be 4 over 2 square root of 5. So kind of 2 steps to this. The first one, I would reduce these numbers. 4 divided by 2 is 2, or you can think of it as 2 over 1. And then your last step is to rationalize. So it's going to be 2 square root of 5 over 5. That is it for that one. Notice I did not ask you about the other 3, but really fast, let's verbally review what they're called. What are the other 3 trig functions called? Cosecant and cotangent. You guys even gave them to me in order. All right, so let's list out what we're missing here. We're missing angle B, so big B. And then what else are we missing? We're gonna find all the missing stuff. Little a and little b. It's a right triangle. So you've got Pythagorean theorem, you've got SOHCAHTOA, you've got all that stuff. Really easy way to get B is all of your angles have to add up to 180. If this is 90, you have 90 left for the others. So it'd just be 90 minus 29, which would be 61. It's almost a 30, 60, 90 triangle, but like not quite. All right, so this 29 degrees, this is your point of view. That's like you are here on the map. That means A is what? Opposite. This is adjacent. This is hypotenuse. So to get little a, that's opposite. And then we have hypotenuse. So would that be good? Sine, before I could even finish saying it. So sine of 29 equals a over 15. I need to see this. This actually hasn't been so much a problem in this class as my other one. I can't grade you on what you typed in the calculator because I can't see that. My telepathy is broken, okay? You have to write it on the paper. So I need to see that. Do not come at me if you lose points that say work question mark, okay? Now, how am I going to type that in the calculator? Yep, 15 sine 29. I don't think I am in the correct mode. I can tell because that came out negative. Go to gear, put it in degrees. So 3 decimal points, 7.272. All right, now let's do little b. So that's adjacent, and then 15 is hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse means cosine. So cosine 29 equals b over 15. And I'm going to do practically the exact same thing. It's going to be 15 cosine 29. So there we go, 13.119. All right, number 3. What are we missing? Let's make our little like scavenger hunt list here.
Big O.
Yeah, I like to do the angles first. It doesn't really matter in this case. But I like to do the angles first and then yeah, little a. So if we're trying to find angle A, that means that's your point of view. 8 is the adjacent, 16 is the hypotenuse. So what are we going to use? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Cosine, good. Cosine of A equals 8 over 16. So now how do I type that since I want the angle? Yeah, good. And when you go into your functions, it's like the first things right here. Cosine inverse, what is it? 8 over 16, or you could type 1/2. Oh, 60 degrees. So A is 60, so good. B is 30. Now there's a lot of ways you could find A. I would just do Pythagorean theorem. That's what I would do. A squared plus 8 squared equals 16 squared. But once you have all the angles, you could do another sine, cosine, or tangent if you want. What is 16? Is it 256? Well, I'll just say sure. I want to make sure I'm right. Yeah, 256. All right, minus over the 64 is 192. And this, you can just put it as a decimal. So I'm going to just type in square root of 192. It is 13.856. I just typed that in the calculator. I just didn't feel like changing the screen again. Yeah, go ahead. I will not take off if you don't. The only time I will take off if you don't put a degree symbol is if it's a word problem and that's your units, because that degrees is taking the place of meters, feet, yards, hours, whatever. So it's really necessary there. But in something like this, I'm not going to take off for it. That would be like so mean. No, if your answer is right, I'm thrilled. All right, these are your area formulas. For this one, do you see how all you have are sides? They're all the little ones. This is that Heron's formula. So you get this magical S value. It's 1/2, and then you just add them all together. You get no formulas. But I will tell you, I've been doing this for over a decade, and every year it just goes fine. Every year, everybody kind of like crams right before it, and then mine dumps all the formulas next to their name when they get their test, and it's just fine. Like I would just tell you, I've been doing this a long time, and it's always fine. Every year, everybody panics, and then it's always fine. Okay. So let me go ahead and I'll go to the calculator. We'll type that in. So this is going to be a decimal because I've got a decimal in there. What is it? 7 plus 9.3 plus 11. 13.65. And the other thing is, if you don't remember the entire formula, I'll give you a point for that. So if you even remember like half of it, do you get what I'm saying? Like you get points for like everything else, I grade it in a really forgiving way. All right, and then you're going to draw this gigantic square root. Underneath of it, you're going to put that 13.65. And then usually what I do is just draw 3 more blanks. And it's 13.65 minus each of these. So 13.65 minus 7 would be 6.65. 13.65 minus 9.3. I just typed it in the calculator. It's 4.35. If you believe me, I just typed it in. I don't feel like switching the screens again. And then 13.65 minus 11 be 2.65. And now I'm going to just type that whole thing in and it will give us our answer. This one does kind of geek me out that it works. Like it's crazy to me that this will actually give you the area of a triangle. It's neat. There we go. 32.347. Now I did put units on this, and basically I'm just checking that you understand how an area works. That's really all I'm checking. If these are in feet, your area is feet squared. Area is 2-dimensional. That's really all I'm checking there. All right, this one, do you see how you have an angle for this one? It is 1/2, and then your 2 sides, and then sine of whatever the angle is. So it's 1/2 AB sine of C, or 1/2 BC sine of A. Do you remember how we had all those different versions of it, but they're all really the same thing? All right, now I'm going to just slam that in the calculator and we'll get our answer. So 1/2. What is that? 13. Don't stop paying attention while I'm typing. I'm not performing for you. Your job is to make sure I don't type it wrong. All right. 145.351. And I think did I also make that feet? Yes. So your answer is feet squared. Again, basically, I'm just checking that you understand how an area works. No, it's multiplication for this one. Yes. So if all you have are sides, it's this formula. If you have an angle, it's 1/2 side of your angle.
When you don't do that, is that when you do it on the back?
Yes. So those aren't right triangles.
Okay.
Actually, neither were these, but it's a directions thing. If you look, it says find the area. So those are area formulas. All right. This is your page of word problems. Let's read this one. In deciding a new building, there's going to be a ramp from the doorway to ground level. So like this. Determine the length of the ramp. So which side is going to be X? Like which side is the ramp? Yeah, the hypotenuse, that's the ramp part. Angle of 5.5 degrees with the ground. Why would it need to be super tiny? Like think in real life. Imagine what this would look like. Like, yeah, so you can go up. Can you imagine if it was like an angle like this? Like you'd never be able to like get up the thing, okay? And then the doorway is 3 feet above the ground. So that's the vertical. So do you want sine, cosine, or tangent? It is sine because you have opposite and hypotenuse. But hey guys, if you lose your mind, there's only 3 options, sine, cosine, or tangent. Pick one and go with it. Like you have a 1 in 3 chance of guessing correctly. That's what's really nice about trig is your world gets very small. It's just a triangle. So there's only so much trouble you can get up to with a triangle. All right, this would be 3 over x. Now that's a little different how you type it because the x is in the denominator. Does anyone remember how we type? Perfect. Nice jobs. It's awesome when I say things and you guys all remember them. It is 31.300. And then you need units because it's a story problem. And I think it was feet, right? But be careful if I change it to yards. Sometimes I do that just to make sure you read the problem. It's really all I'm doing. I'm just checking if you read the problem. All right, 125-foot observation tower near the coastline. Use your imagination. Do you know like a lighthouse? Okay, near the water. All right. Sees a boat. The angle of depression to the boat is 16, to the coast is 41. Do you see how there's 2 different angles? Do you remember the problem we did where there was a building and there was a statue of that goddess on top of it and there were 2 angles? This is going to be a 2-part problem. So it's going to look like this. You're going to have one triangle that goes all the way to the boat that's out there in the water, and then one that goes to the coast. The coast being where the water meets the land. So like this is land and this is water. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not a great artist, but like, do you have an imagination? Yeah, land, water, boats out there. All right, where does the 125 go? Let's start putting our math in here. Yeah, that's your observation tower. So that's the vertical part. To the boat is 16 degrees and to the coast is 41. And doesn't it make sense that this one's smaller than this one? Like, use your imagination. In real life, it makes sense that one's smaller than that one. How far is the boat offshore? We're going to do 2 separate problems, okay? Let's do the whole way to the boat first. 125 is the opposite. If we're going all the way out to the boat, then that is this whole side that we're finding. I'm just going to call that x. If you're all the way to the boat, it's the whole thing. Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent. Good. You have opposite and adjacent. So tangent 16 equals 125 over x. So again, don't stop paying attention while I type it. It's going to be 125 divided by tangent 16. 435.926. You can put units on that if you want, but it's not the final answer. So I'm only worried about it in the final answer. Now we're going to do the one to the coast. That's only to here. So it's only this far. I'm going to call that y. And so it's going to be practically the exact same thing, but with the 41 instead of the 16. You see what I did there? Yes, and that you're ahead of me, so just hold on a second. So I'm going to go back and type that in. 125 divided by tangent of 41. I get that it's a two-part problem, but do you see that we basically just did the exact same thing twice? See, oh, put my earring out of my ear. Exact same thing twice. All right, so go ahead and write that one down. 143.796. And I'm going to need to see that on your paper. That's like your work. Again, I can't grade what happened in the calculator. You have to write it on the paper for me. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back over here and call this one X. And then I'm going to come down here and call this one Y. And then what am I going to type in to get the final answer? Because what we want is how far the boat is offshore. So what am I going to type in? Yeah, X minus Y. I'm actually not sure it'll do it with X and Y. I might need to make them A and B. Because I think sometimes, yeah, Desmos won't do it with an X and a Y. I'm going to have to call them A and B. Sorry. I don't know why it's like that. I guess it's because X and Y are usually the variables that you like graph something with. But anyway, there you go. 292.130 is your final answer. And this one, was it also feet? Yeah, feet. Cool. Yes, because all the way to the boat is the whole way from the tower out to the boat. And then the other one is from the tower to the shore, and then you just subtract them. It's exactly like that tower problem or the building with the statue on top of it. We did all the way to the head of the statue. You can go and sit right there. And then we did to the top of the building, and then we just subtracted them. We're gonna do one more, and then we'll do our break, so you can just sit tight until I'm okay. All right. You are standing 40 oh, I made this one meters just to check if you read the problem. From the base of a tree that is leaning 8 degrees from vertical towards you. I get that trees are usually vertical, but you understand sometimes they bend, right? Wind and stuff, okay? So it's not a right triangle. I will attempt to draw a little bit of a picture here. You are standing here. This is the tree. Are you using your imagination? It's leaning towards you a little bit though. Okay, now hold on. It says 8 degrees from vertical. Vertical would be 90. If it's 8 degrees off, what's 90 minus 8? 82 degrees goes right there. So the wind hit it and it just bent a little bit. I saw some of you look at it and go, oh, I get it. So I guess my picture of a tree worked. And then this is you. You're 40 meters away from it. So where does the 40 go? Bless you. At the bottom, you're 40 meters away. Angle of elevation from you to the tree is 20. So that goes next to you. This is you, by the way. All right. Find the height of the tree. So I'm going to call this X. You can't do SOHCAHTOA because it's not a right triangle. Instead, we're going to do law of sines. To do law of sines, you need a side across from an angle. So we're going to need to find this angle first, but hold on, question. Go ahead. So it says 8 degrees from vertical. Vertical is 90, but it's 8 degrees off. So 90 minus 8. So that'd be an obtuse angle, which would make things way more complicated, and I'm not going to do that to you. All right, so we're going to do, well, actually, I'll ask you guys, how am I going to find that angle that we're missing? Yeah, subtract from 180. All right, so it's 180, or did you do it in your head already? Still type it. Yeah, 78. Still type it, though, because you're going to be sad if you just do it in your head and mess up a little bit. All right, so side across from an angle. So 40 over sine 78 equals, right, good. And I called it X, but at this point, call it whatever you want. In Delta Math, they called them LMNOP. It was like whatever, you know. And then we're going to cross multiply and divide. So I am going to type what?
40 sine.
Yep, 40 sine 20 over sine 78. And that is your answer. So 13.986 meters Again, I changed that one basically just to make sure everybody read the problem. So here's my suggestion for how to get through the rest of the test. The rest of these problems are all your patterns. The pattern indicates what you do, which actually, let's review them real quick. Angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle. Those two where you have two angles and one side. That is just law of sines. Do the problem. Basic, easy, no trouble. All right. Which is the one that was that whole process, the flow chart, and you sometimes got no solution, sometimes got two solutions. Yeah, that's the naughty word spelled backwards is that analysis. So those are the ones where you have to go through all of that. Now, the two where you watched the video and did this for your remote work is if you have more sides. So SAS and SS is your law of cosines. So what the pattern is indicates what you do. Here's my suggestion. Go through and draw a picture and state the pattern for all of them, and then go back and do them in the order you find easiest. Okay? You don't have to do this one first and then that one next. Bless you. There's not like a law stating that. All right? No.
Wait, oh, the log cosine, isn't that what we did?
Yeah. All right, so start at the bottom left. A is 36. Across from that, you've got 8. Then you want to go to the bottom right, but you don't have any other angles, but I know I want to put angle B there because I have little b, which goes across from it. The one that you don't have any information about goes at the top. So what's the pattern for that one? I'm going to write side, side angle because I'm recording this, but you're correct and I'll mark it right on your test. That's the right answer. But because I'm recording this to my Hanover County YouTube channel, I'm going to put that. Okay. Let's draw let's just go through and draw them all. Okay. Angle A is 100. I get that it's obtuse, but don't worry about drawing it to scale. It doesn't matter, right? Little a is 21. Big C is 16. And then the one you don't know anything about goes at the top. So what is the pattern for that one? Yeah, angle, angle, side. Or side, angle, angle, that's fine. What's important though is that the side is not in between them. That would be ASA. Okay. Now this one, hopefully you can tell what the pattern is without drawing a picture. Go ahead. Okay, but I'm going to give you a point for drawing the picture, so just do it. At this point, it doesn't matter what you put where, because all you have are sides. So that's just basically like easy money drawing that picture. All right, here we've got A is 110. Little a is 125. And then angle B I'm going to put next. Across from that is 100. And then C is the one we don't know anything about. You know what? Let's do this. So we don't have to keep flipping back and forth. Let's do these 4. We'll decide what order we want to do them in. Again, on your test, I would say go through and do them all, but I don't feel like flipping the paper back and forth. So out of these 4, oh wait, what's the pattern?
Oh, wait, side and side.
There you go. So out of these 4, which would you say is the easiest? Let's do the easiest one. Oh, you guys think side, side, side? Okay, I was going to say this one, but I'll go with what you guys said. Okay, you have to find them smallest to biggest, or it will be wrong. Okay, so what's going to be the smallest one? A, good, and then C, and then B. Okay. So A is the one you have, that's 6. So 6 squared equals 8 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 8 times 12. And you guys all watched the video. I know you did because you did I hope you did because you did your work. I realize it's really long, okay? But do you see how these two just match these two? Again, I've been doing this a really long time and every year it's just fine. Like it just goes okay. And then cosine of A. I'll tell you actually the most common mistake I get with this is people put sine instead of cosine. And that blows my mind because it's the law of cosines, which is just weird. But anyway, that's the most common mistake I get with that one, to be honest with you. All right, so this will be 36 equals 8 squared is 64 plus 144. That gives you 208. I just typed it in the calculator real quick. Minus 2 times 8 times 12 is 192. Again, I just typed it in the calculator real quick. Now, you can't subtract those together. This one has a cosine and this one doesn't. So what do you do instead? Yeah, good. So 36 minus 208 is negative 172. But it's okay that that's negative. Why? The other one's negative. Good. You guys, oh my gosh, I love you so much. You all like did everything you needed to do. All right, and then you're going to divide that over. And then the way I will type it in is what? Yeah, cosine with the little negative one. Inverse cosine is how you say that. What was it? 172 over 192? Okay. 26.384. I'm impressed you guys picked this one. You thought this one was going to be the easiest one. But I kind of feel that way too, but all right. So now you have a side across from an angle. So we're going to do law of sines. It'll be 6 over sine A. I just wrote A. You could write 26 point blah, blah, blah. It's kind of up to you. Equals, now what's the next one we're looking for? Little c, or no, sorry. Angle C, big C. So it's going to be 8 over sine of C. Now this is intricate how you type this in the calculator. First of all, because you want an angle, you're going to type sine inverse and then cross multiply and divide. So watch, because when you're taking this test, you can't call me over and be like, hey, I don't know how to type this. Oh, also, what do I need to put in front of this guy? Yeah, A equals. Okay, so I'm going to do sine inverse and then cross multiply. So what is it? 8 sine of A divided by 6. So 36.336. I'm going to store that as C. And then what can I do to get the last one? Yeah, good. 180 minus A minus C. So then B is 117.279. Did we find them smallest to biggest? Like when you look at your answers, do they go smallest to biggest? Yeah, it's the way you can kind of check. All right, what would you consider the next easiest one? This one is definitely going to be the easiest one. All right, we are missing angle B. And then little c and little b. So what would we do to get angle B? Subtract them from 180. It's going to be 64. I just threw that in the calculator real quick. I don't want to keep switching the screens. It's annoying. Now you need a side across from an angle. So it's 21 over sine of 100. And if you even want to just go ahead and write it twice, just go ahead and write it twice because you have 2 more things to find. So you might as well write it twice. All right, for little c, it will be c over sine of, what is that, 16? And then I'm just going to go ahead and set up the other one before I go to the calculator. It'll be b over sine of 64. Do I hit second sine for these? No, good. Why not? Not an angle. Perfect. All right. I'm going to just cross multiply and divide. So 21 sine 16 divided by sine 100. 5.877. And then all I have to do to give this, to make it give me the other one is change the 16 to a 64. And you should get a bigger number, which we did, 19.165. All right. The other two are the same pattern, so it doesn't really matter what order we do these in. We have to do our analysis. It starts theta is, and you're either going to put obtuse or acute. So what do you think for this one? Acute. The opposite, which is 8, is what compared to the adjacent? Larger. That means you're good. Just do the problem. Just proceed as normal. Literally just do the problem. It's when the opposite side isn't big enough that you run into an issue. Okay, so we're missing angle B, angle C, and side C. How am I going to set it up? What over what? Eight over sine 36, and I'm going to just go ahead and write it twice. Equals, and then I need angle B, so it's going to be 5 over sine of B. All right, here we go. I'm going to go type it in. What am I going to type? You guys tell me. Yeah, inverse sine. Good. Oops, sorry. Inverse sine, and then 5 sine 36 divided by 8. There we go, 21.553. And I'm going to store that as B. So to get C, it's going to be 180 minus what? 36, oops, and B. So 122.446. And I'm going to store that as C. We got plenty of time. We're good. So to set up for my last one, it's going to be little c over sine of big C. I just wrote C, but you could write 122.446 if you wanted to. And then how am I going to type that one in? Eight sine C divided by sine 36. Good job. 11.485. That should be the biggest side. So check, is 11 point blah, blah, blah bigger than the other two? Yes, because you're finding them smallest to biggest. So you should get an answer bigger than 8. All right, last one on this side. It's your naughty word spelled backwards. That's your analysis. So theta is what? Obtuse. Your opposite is 125. Your adjacent is 100. So the opposite is greater than the adjacent. That means just do the problem. Like literally just do the problem. So same thing we just did, just do it again. What are we missing? Same thing. All right, how am I going to set it up? I'm going to try and do this one quicker because it's literally the exact same thing we just did. Sine 110. I'm going to just go ahead and write it twice. Some of you are not writing it down with me. I'm going to hand you a test the next time I see you. I mean, I am recording this, so you can always go back and watch it. But all right, and then on the other side, you're going to have 100 over sine of B. So how will I start out typing that since I want an angle? Yeah, actually, I'm just going to go back and change what I had here. 100 sine 110 over 125, 48.742. And then what do I need to just change in the next line down? There's only one number I need to change. Yeah, I need to change that to what? 110. So there we go, 21.257. And then the last thing we need to find is C. So C over sine C. Actually, they didn't end up being smallest to biggest in this case because it was an obtuse triangle. So this is going to be smaller than both of these because angle C was only 21 degrees. That happened because this was obtuse. So it will be, what do I need to change about this? It will be 125 sine C divided by what? Yeah, 110. 48.228. That was cool because I was able to just do the exact same thing twice. So I kind of just went back and altered what I had. I didn't have to type it all over again. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause the recording. I want you to just draw and label all 4 triangles and put the pattern, and we'll make sure we all get the same thing, okay? So I got side, side angle, that side angle side. And then the other 2 are also both side, side angle. All right. Out of these, which do you consider the easiest one? 100% this one, for sure. You don't have to do an analysis, all right? It's law of cosines. We're missing little c. And then out of A and B, you have to find the smallest one first. B is the smaller one, and then A. Most of the time, you will catch it if you try to do them out of order. I cannot tell you how many times during a test someone calls me over and keeps going, I'm getting a negative answer. And I can't tell you anything because it's a test, but what you're doing is you're finding them in the wrong order. Okay? All right. C squared equals. Let's see what you got. 10 squared, good. Plus 7 squared. Minus 2, and then repeat them. Cosine of 108. Not sine, it's cosine. It's law of cosines. Now, the way you type this in is it's the square root of, and why am I square rooting? Like, why is that? Yeah, to get rid of the square. So, hold on, let me type that in. I know it's not super fun to watch your teacher type this, but just, I want you to watch and make sure I don't type anything wrong. Did I mess anything up? Oh, I did. There, is that right so far? Cosine 108, 13.865. I'm going to come over here and store it as C, and then we're good to set up the next one. Yeah, that's a way easier pattern. So now that you have a side across from an angle, you can do law of sines. So it's C over what? Yep, sine 108 equals 7 over sine of B. So it is going to be sine inverse. Sine inverse, and then I'm going to cross 7 sine 108. It's the 2 you have, divided by, you're going to be okay. Little c, 28.693. And then I'm going to store that as B, and then good. So 180 minus B minus, what's the other one? 108. 43.306. You guys are doing good paying attention. I think we'll do one more and then I'll give you another quick break because this is a lot. But you're doing awesome with this, like really good. Let's go back and get this one. Side angle means you do your analysis. Theta is obtuse. Your opposite is 125. Your adjacent is 200. So the opposite less than the adjacent. That means, no, listen. If it's obtuse, you either do the problem or you do not. The opposite side is either big enough or it isn't. If it's acute, that's when you have to drop down the height and do all that mess. Okay, but that's it. All there is to that.
We just finish the last 2 and then just do
Or, well, let's do one more and then I'll give you a break, okay? Let's do this last one. Just remember, if the opposite side is big enough, you're good. Do you remember me drawing those pictures where the opposite side kind of dangled there and it didn't reach? If the opposite side isn't big enough, that's where you end up with an issue, okay? So theta is acute. Good job. Yeah, okay. So listen, that's where you have to drop down this height. If it's obtuse, you're kind of done. If it's acute, that's where you have more work. It is always sine. Do you remember me saying that? It's been a while at this point because we lost a lot of school, but it will always be sine. So sine of 76 equals what? H over 20. Perfect. So let's get our height. Let me type that in. So I'm going to type 20 sine 76. Our height is 19.405. And then you compare your opposite side with your height and see if it's big enough. If it's big enough, you're good. If it isn't, then you're not. Opposite is 18. This is 19. Your opposite is smaller than your height. So it's not going to make... Can you guys just hold on 1 second? I know you're like really excited to just be done, but can you you have an imagination? Do you get that if the height of the triangle is bigger than whatever that other side is, it's not going to reach? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, use your imagination. It's not going to reach. Okay. So this again means your analysis. So you're going to say theta is acute. Oh, I forgot to put my 58 in there. Acute. The opposite is 11. I know 0.4, but 11. The adjacent is 12. So the opposite is less than the adjacent. So if it was obtuse, you'd be done and you would just say no solution. But for acute, that's where you drop down the height. It will always be sine. Good. You don't even really have to think about it. It's going to be sine 58 equals H over 12.8. And we're going to plug in and get our height. Oh, you okay? All right, I got it. And you guys should be checking I typed it right. Does that look good?
Yeah.
Okay. 10.855. So now you compare again. Is this 11 bigger than the height? Okay. What that means is you get 2 answers. It's not any more work written down. It's just a little bit more button pushing. Okay. So we need, what do we need? We need angle B, angle C, side C. So I need a side across from an angle, which is this one right here. I kind of ran out of space. 11.4 over sine of 58. And I'm going to just go ahead and write it twice. I hope you wrote smaller than me because I got to fit. Equals, and then we want to find angle B. So on the other side, we're going to put 12.8 over sine B. So what am I going to type? Well, first, sine inverse, because you want an angle. And then, yes, we want 12.8 sine 58 divided by, what was it, 11.4? There you go, 71.749. Oh, 72.212. And thank you. That's exactly why you guys need to be looking. If you type one thing wrong, it's going to be wrong. Unfortunately. 72.212. All right, I'm going to go back and store that as B. Then I'm going to come down here and do 180 minus B minus 58. And that's C, 49.787. I'm going to store that as C. And then last one, what goes on this side is little c over sine of C. Do I need second sine for this one, or like sine inverse? Sorry, on these calculators, it's second sine, so I'm really used to saying that. No, we do not need that. It's going to just be 11.4 sine C divided by sine 58. Good job. We already have it, yep. And I have it stored right there. So it is 10.265. Yeah, that's just all normal. And I'm not gonna write down any more work. Okay, look. How many degrees is a straight line? 180. If you do 180 minus B, you get the new version of B because it folds along a straight line. So let's go back to, and I let you guys pick what letter, because remember we needed a different letter. Didn't we pick Q? All right, so Q is going to be 180 minus B. That is the new version of B, 107.787. Well, I put Q equals in the calculator because I want it to store it so that I can reuse it, but don't put Q on your paper. Now, correct, you can't use B again because you already used B. Now to get the last one, the last angle, it's 180 minus Q minus, what was the original one, 58? Is that what it was? Now it should be super tiny. Do you remember how the other angle in the triangle, it was like a really tiny slice? Like you should get a really small number there. So do you see how it's 14.212? Now watch what I'm going to do here. I want that to be stored as C. Do you see that? I want that to be C, but I've already used C. So I'm just going to delete this, and then I can store this as C. Okay? You just can't store two things as the same letter. Now to get the last one, you're just going to do this again, and I didn't delete it. It's still in there. So I don't even need to type it again. I just need to go back and find what line it was on. And it should be a really little number because remember, it's across from a really little angle. It's this one right here. Do you see it? 3.300. So the button pushing gets fancy, but you're not doing like any more work. Hold on. There was two questions there, so let me answer them in order. Go ahead. We need to fix that attitude. All right, go ahead.
How did you get that?
I didn't type it again because I already had it in here. It's 11.4 sine C divided by sine 58. You're just doing it with the new version of C. So since I have C stored as this one now, it plugged in the 14.212 for me.
So instead of the 10, you just, so you would do that and do the new C?
Yeah, but the calculator does it for you.
Okay.
See, do you see how I have C stored as this 14 point? Yeah, it's just right there. Like, just don't delete it. I did. That was the one thing I had to delete. You know how I had C equals 180 minus the other stuff? I had to delete that before I could store this as C because you can't use the same letter twice. Okay.